In this video, we're just going to have a brief demonstration of the three technologies that we talked about: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. What I have here is my Sublime text editor. To know how to set up for your very first project, then please refer to my course, Introduction to Responsive Websites, HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap 4. Let's create a file called index.html where we're going to write our HTML code. Let's save this open file, save as. Let's save this in a folder called example and name it index.html. To start with our HTML code, we need the backbone code we discussed in the HTML lecture. When you type HTML, your Sublime text editor will populate the basic HTML DOM for you. The HTML5 declaration, head, body, titles. Let's just say the title is Web Tech. And then in your body, let's add what we call a header, an H1 heading. This is just an example of HTML. We'll see how CSS works, then JavaScript. Web development technologies. Then add what we call an HR. So this is what we call an element. The body, the H1 is an element. Everything within the angled brackets is an element, as long as there is no further information. But when we provide more information within the angled brackets, those are then called attributes. So our tag is our element with the opening and closing brackets. We have our HTML closing our HTML, body closing your body. Everything for HTML should be within your HTML tags. Let's add a few buttons. HTML, and then just copy these and add two more, just for the sake of demonstration, and save. Let's have a look at how this looks. This will be our basic HTML page. Here we are. We have our web development technologies, our HR, and our buttons. Next, let's have a look at how CSS works. We'll use internal CSS by adding the style tags. Within our head section, let's specify a different font type for our heading and the background color of our page. We need to provide the selector, which we call H1. We want to style H1 and therefore we'll use that. We want to change the font family. Let's just use Calibri. That's a common font. Okay, let's just change the font. Let's just change the font type for the H1 heading. And then let's also style the body. We want everything to be centered. We want the background to be blue. So let's just change the background color. Let's use sky blue for now. Let's add styles for our buttons. Let's use the button selector to change the width. Let's just give it 100 pixels and then give the height. Let's give it 50 pixels. Let's change the text for our buttons to different names. Let's name this one JavaScript. Let's save. Let's just refresh. This is how our website now looks. We've been able to change how our font looks, the background, as well as the sizes of these buttons. Finally, let's add JavaScript to our website. Usually you can treat your buttons to behave like links so that they work anywhere you want. But in this particular case, we want all of our content to display on our page. First, let's get a paragraph of text that we'll use in our demonstration. I already have text copied here, so let me just create a paragraph. Let's add a break to separate our elements, and then add the paragraph. I already have text copied, so I'll just go ahead and paste it there to add a paragraph of text. Let's save this and then add our JavaScript after. There's some little text on our website. Let's just add JavaScript. Remember, we said to add JavaScript, you need to specify the script tag. We won't be using an external file, so we'll be using it the same way we used our CSS. Let's create a function. And then provide the name of the function. Let's call it update name, like we did in our example, and give it no argument. Within our function, let's just add a pop-up to take your name. Let's then update a particular element on our website. For example, we want to update this paragraph every time something is clicked. So let's give this paragraph what we call an ID, so we can use that ID in our JavaScript to identify the particular paragraph. We want our ID to be paragraph. So let's go ahead and update our JavaScript. This is an example of how to update an element. You use document .get element by ID. Then you open brackets and specify that particular ID, which is paragraph, in quotes. Then dot to add whatever you want to do. We want to change the inner HTML of this text to something different after we get our name. So let's say dot inner HTML is equal to, let's change the text to hello, then add the variable name, which is outside quotes, and then add more text. Then we have to add a plus again, and then put our quotation strings to put more text. Hello, our text will read hello, and then the name inputted. Let's add a break here so that it adds a new line. You can put tags within your quotation marks and they'll still be interpreted as proper tags. This is a JavaScript text demo. Let's break this again. So we would expect, and then close this with a colon. We would expect that upon clicking this button, our paragraph will now remove this text and update it to this particular text we've specified. First, we have to add an event to a button by using a method we call onClick, and then specify the particular function. In this case, it will be update name and then the brackets. Let's save this and see how it behaves. Refresh our page and then click our HTML button. We have our pop-up. Let me type in my name. Looks like it didn't change our text. We might have an error somewhere. Let's try to fix it. First, let's have a look at our function. Document.getElement by ID. That should be a small d over there so that it's blue. Let's save and then see how it works now. Then click OK. They changed our text to Hello Jennifer. This is a JavaScript text demo. You can do more with JavaScript than just changing text. You can add more elements. You can change the styles of existing elements. Let's just demonstrate adding a CSS style in this particular case. Noting that we did not have to refresh our website in order for this text to change. We can add another function. Let's call it update color. No space in the function name. Let's just change the color without any prompt this time. We still use document.getElement by ID. So let's give our body an ID of body that we'll use in our JavaScript. Let's use body. And then instead of inner HTML this time, we're using style. And then we specify the property we want to change, which is the background color. We just use background, then color, then is equal to, in quotes, let's specify the color name, and then close this with a semicolon. Now let's call our function for the CSS button and use the onClick and use the update color button. Make sure your case as well as your spellings are correct because it might not work as expected. Let's just save. It looks like we have an error here. Let's just use this as color. You can just Google a list of properties that you can use with JavaScript to update your website. Let's refresh. HTML, our pop-up is still working. We type in our name, click OK, it updates the text. You click your CSS button, it changed the style of your website. In general, these are all that you can achieve with all these languages and a lot more. This is just a basic introduction on what you can achieve with these technologies.